Hey everybody, it's Lance Dammeier.
And Jennifer Weithman.
We are the dynamic duo, what do you call ourselves? Two Tennessee nuts?
Two nuts in Tennessee.
Two nuts in Tennessee. So, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about one of Jennifer's properties. She has a property here in Middle Tennessee that's for sale. What's the address of it?
It's 561 Skyline Drive. You've got to look at the pictures of it because it's absolutely adorable, and it's just minutes to 65. No HOA on 0.6 of an acre down in Lewisburg,
Tennessee. All right, so actually here's the house behind us here, so we got a good look at.
Yep.
You want to tell us a little bit more about it, or maybe
we'll look at some pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. Look at that kitchen, though.
Okay.
It's got upgraded lighting. It's got granite cabinets. Look at the refrigerator on that thing.
Okay. Another interior shot.
That's the primary bathroom.
And then here's the exterior shot.
Yeah.
So
very wooded lot.
We're sitting here today for a reason to talk about maybe how to make this more appealing financially to people.
Yeah, affordable housing is something everybody's talking about. Rates. You know, this house a few years back would have cost a lot less per month, and people see what it's costing and they're like, ugh. But there are people who need to move and do different things. So you were telling me about how we can have that done, but sometimes, like I said, pictures worth 1,000 words. So
let's show them.
Yeah, please.
A couple different scenarios. All right. So typically, here's how a loan would work. But this house that Jennifer has listed is $400,000. So for examples here, we're going to use an FHA loan. For an FHA loan, you typically can put down 3.5%. So our scenario behind me is exactly that. Yeah. So it's a $400,000 loan. We're putting down 3.5%, which is about $14,000. Today, the moment I made this, today is actually the 12th of September. We were just using a middle of the road credit score, a 680. Right. As many of you know, higher score, better rates, lower score, sometimes worse rates. Sometimes that's inverse. There's a lot of different things that go into that.
Right. And our normal disclaimer, you would need to call for your exact scenario, but this is a situation that the numbers might not be exactly the same, but the way things drop are going to be similar.
Just exactly. We're just trying to give you an illustration. So in this one, today's rate, 6.125 on a 30-year fixed FHA loan. The principal and interest would be $2,386. Now that's principal and interest. You would add to that your taxes. You would add to that your insurance. If there was an HOA, that's not part of your payment, but it's calculated into your debt to income ratio. So always put a little star by that. We're going to go ahead and go to the next screen. So that's the standard. One of the things you've probably heard about before is a permanent buy down. So the permanent buy down, in that instance, you can take some money, the buyer can or the seller can, and you can put it towards making the rate a little bit better.
Well, buyer can on a conventional, but not on a FHA. I can't always remember this, but again,
on government loans, the buyer cannot. So good point. So, but the seller can. So in this instance, we're keeping the sales price the same. It's $400,000. We still have the 3.5% down, but this time we're going to have a credit of $3,500. Where can that credit come from? It can come from the seller, it could come from me, or maybe a combination of the two of those.
Right.
So same loan amount, but the interest rate's a lot better. It's 5.625. It's actually a half a point better. To that, you're going to add your taxes and insurance. You might be asking, Lance, why didn't you do that? Well, every property is going to be different. This particular property has specific taxes, but it might have different insurance, and the mortgage insurance will be the same as well. But
and just like your rates are based off your credit score, a lot of insurance is based off credit score too. So there's no way to determine that.
So when we go to the next screen here, you can see the difference. I call it the math. So at the 6.125, the payment was $2,386. With a short easy buy down of a half a point to 5.625, the payment was $2,261. It's $125 a month, or almost $1,500 a year to the buyer. But you can actually go a bit further than that, Jennifer.
Well, I have a question for you too, because $3,500 on a $400,000 house, that's something that a lot of sellers are going to be able to say, yeah, I would do that. They would have to reduce their price, I don't even know, to get down to $125 if they were just reducing price. They would have to drop it tens of thousands of dollars, I would imagine, to get it down that. So this is a massive win for both the
about
seller and the buyer.
$25,000 in this scenario.
Yeah, if I was a seller, I'd rather reduce $3,500 than $25,000, but that might be blonde math.
Well, it's also
history major math.
Blonde math, major history math is a good way to, if you're thinking about selling your home, to talk to Jennifer, because she can talk with you. What she's trying to say is, you see a lot of on the internet, like price reduced $10,000. Well, in this scenario, a $10,000 reduction would only mean $57 a month difference in payment.
Yeah.
If you're a seller, you might want to look at some other options for that to keep some money in your pocket. That's what she's kind of trying to say. So I love my TennesseeHome.com. It's got some great ideas for you. We'll put that at the bottom here in a second. All right, so there's another thing you can do. It's called a temporary buy down, Jennifer.
Okay.
A temporary buy down is where we take money and we can reduce the interest rate significantly for the borrower. And here's an example of it, the temporary buy down. So this is a 2-1 buy down. In my scenario here, we're using $8,700 in credits. Where is this $8,700 going to come from? Again, it can come from the seller or it can come from the lender or a combination thereof. So for the example right here, $8,700 accomplishes the following. Same loan amount, same down payment,
Okay.
but their starting rate is 6.125. What do you mean, Lance, starting rate of 6.125? Well, this is what's called a 2-1 buy down. So in year one, your interest rate is actually 4.125. The second year, your interest rate is 5.125. And then years 3 through 30, it's at 6.125. So I probably should say your effective interest rate so I can explain what this really means. The interest rate is 6.125, but the $8,700 in credit sets up an escrow account so that some of the payments can be made in your behalf. And you can talk with me about that more on the next couple screens from now. We'll have how to contact me. But let's go ahead and look at the math on that, Jennifer.
And also the first year on that, it sounds like it was lower by almost over a point from the last one, which was 5.6 or something like that.
Correct.
So bigger savings.
So here's the math. At that first year, your monthly being at 4.125, you're going to pay $483 a month less. And then in year 2, when it jumps to 5.125, you're going to be paying $248 a month less. And then on year 3 through 30, it's the same. How that's accomplished is an escrow account is set up so that the escrow account can make a portion of your payment for you and you make the rest of the payment. It's kind of like a way to ease into a payment. One of the things, there's a lot of sticker shock right now. People are looking at the price of a home, they're seeing interest rates, even though they're in the 5s and 6s, it's a wake-up call for some people.
Right.
So we've come up with this particular program to...
So go back one screen for me a second.
You got it.
So normally your monthly payment would be that in like 1984.
Maybe the 1648.
Right, but the first
Excuse me,
year,
the 1984.
but
Yes,
the first year you're down to 1648, and the next it's 1811. And I think that most people would think that a $400,000 house for 1648 is where they could kind of stomach it. But again, this is going to be history major math. 483, let's just say that it's 500 because that's easier math for me. That's $6,000. So if you also in that same time were paying off a credit card or you're paying off a car payment, you're able to breathe a little bit more. Even if rates don't necessarily change right now, you could do some financial changes.
Absolutely, but what if interest rates did change for the better? That escrow account is actually the consumers to use as they want. So let's say that 9 months into this, remember we started with $8,700. There is an amortization chart on this. I don't have that in front of us, so I'm going to make up this example. So let's say after 9 months, there's still $6,100 left in that account. That is the borrower's money. If the bank doesn't get to keep
Just
that.
like my escrow on my insurance, if I sell my house, the remaining months that I'm not there, I get that back.
So if they refinanced and rates were better, they would have that would be applied against their balance. So I'm making this up again. If they owed $470,000.
Making up the numbers, not the scenario.
Got it. So if they had $476,000 still owed, or $376,000 still owed, and they had a $6,000 credit, their payoff would be $370.
Okay.
So it's a really cool thing. We're glad. I'm glad we had the opportunity to talk with people about this.
And just to confirm one other thing, I think you said that on the permanent buy down, there is no escrow. So
Correct.
that money just goes. So that's one of the reasons that you really are favorable. It's a bigger hit on the buy down the first year. The payment's less, and you get that money back.
I don't want to say I'm favorable. I want to
Oh.
say we need to look at everyone's
You think
scenario.
they're nifty.
They're nifty, and I think we need to look at everyone's scenario
True.
because there's one scenario. One thing we're not really talking about, and that's what's the seller's scenario. What is their exact?
What are
condition?
they able to do?
Exactly.
Right. Because in some of these cases, maybe the seller can't do all the things that the buyer's asking them to do. But, honestly, home prices are coming in 2 to 3% at least under list price most often right now. Not always, but often. And we're seeing that they're stagnant or a little bit less than what people bought them for. Like this house, for example, they're selling it for less than they bought it for. It should appraise for higher. So if somebody needed more concessions, they might be able to offer more so that if a seller was needing that, they have those margins. Makes sense.
There's our information. The bottom line
Now
is,
it's gonna flip it.
excuse me. There's our information. the bottom line is that everyone's scenario is different, so that's why you need, there's no cookie cutter solution.
Right.
That the reason we put this video together is to help arm you with some ideas and help you feel a little bit more comfortable about what's out there. It might look like a big scary real estate world, but it really isn't. Surround yourself with professionals like Jennifer and I, and we're here to help you.
Yep. Great. Have a great day, y'all.
Right. I think that went well. I hope it recorded it.
Right?
It says it's recording. I really don't know how to stop it, so I'm gonna